Stay here.
They sure got dry in a hurry. Also, we're just in time for more fan service. They're in the very neglected visitors center from Jurassic Park. Just be glad there isn't a real raptor in front of it this time. I see the raincoats that Nedry wore. There's the night vision goggles. And of course, the Jeeps.
You remember when we fixed up Grandpa's old Malibu, right?
In Jim.
Go home, Hoskins. Nobody likes you.
I know who you are.
Then you know why I'm here.
Basically, his plan is to have the raptors hunt and kill Indominus, and of course that'll open the door for a lot of fucked up ideas he has about exploiting raptors in general.
You see, the solution to your crisis is standing right in front of you.
So basically, solve your dinosaur problem by throwing more dinosaurs at it.
No velociraptors are going to be set loose on this island.
You're out of your mind.
Pot, meat, kettle.
That thing is a killing machine, and it will not stop.
Naturally, Masrani is against this, but he agrees to look into it.
Within the moral principles of this company.
So now they're using an idea that Owen had earlier about using a helicopter to shoot at the Indominus from above. Masrani's instructor isn't available, so he's going alone.
We don't need anyone else.
Meanwhile, the kids have gotten that Jeep running. And no, I really don't care if that's impossible. This is a movie about dinosaurs, not a documentary on Jeeps. I care just as much about Claire's footwear for similar reasons. Anyway, Claire and Owen hear the motor and end up in the garage where the kids just were. But there's company. I guess Owen still smells like gasoline. Actually surprised no one has commented on that. They could have had a running joke like in Clerks.
Something smells like shoe polish.
And I guess that's why Indominus can't smell them. Oh, never mind. Apparently she was just fucking with them. So now she's out in the open and here comes Masrani's helicopter.
Come on, look alive, boys! Look alive!
Yeah, that's gonna be hard to do in a minute. So they shoot at her and she busts into the aviary to get away from them. Well done, guys.
Looks like the fox got in the henhouse.
Larry's like, why are you touching me? Holy crap, it's Dimorphodon. I didn't expect to see one of those in this movie. They're so weird looking. Anyway, notice that Indominus isn't actually killing anything for once. She is trying to scare them so they'll attack the helicopter. Damn, that's good aim. And so much for Masrani. Damn, I kinda liked him. Apparently they did too. Meanwhile, more flyers are escaping from the aviary and catching up with the Jeep. But the kids are on the way to safety.
That's a first.
If these guards will ever be of any help. Apparently they got inside because Zara has spotted them. Why isn't there some kind of shelter for these people? Like, if nothing else, they could end up getting heat stroke. God damn it. Did you have to remind me of the Silent Hill movie? I'm tempted to point out that pterosaurs most likely didn't go after prey that were as big as them, but Dr. Wu kind of already shot down any criticisms like that. Well played, movie. Here's a fun gag that goes by really fast. This guy is seen running away with a margarita in each hand while trying not to spill them and even taking a sip of one. This guy is Jimmy Buffett, known as the guy who sang Margaritaville. He even owns a restaurant by that name, which is in Universal Orlando. So it doubles as kind of a theme park gag. Everything's coming up Hoskins. Oh, I hope that baby trike is okay. Meanwhile, Zara finally catches up with the kids. Enjoy the nightmares, kids. This is kind of your fault. Anyway, Zara gets dropped into a pool of water, which turns out to be the Mosasaur exhibit, and holy shit, movie. That was a thing that happened. Then Owen gets attacked by a Dimorphodon. Damn, go Claire. Okay. I've read that they intentionally didn't tell the actress that she was gonna get kissed there, so her reaction is authentic. That's kinda cute. But Claire finally gets reunited with her nephews.
Where did you go? Why didn't you come back?
Aww. God damn it, Hoskins. How have you not been ironically killed by dinosaurs yet? Anyway, he's bringing in his unit now.
Hoskins is in charge.
And Owen just found out about his plan involving the raptors, and he's not happy. I like how you think that's going to be Indominus busting through those doors, but instead it's a panicking crowd of people. Not sure which is more dangerous, honestly.
Can we stay with you? I am never leaving you as long as you live. No, him!
Owen is pretty cool. Sorry, Claire.
Yeah, definitely him.
Meanwhile, Hoskins.
Hey, right here.
You are so damn stupid.
She look at what she wants. Usually what she wants to eat.
Remember that, it'll be on the test later. Fortunately, Owen shows up in the nick of time.
The mother hen has finally arrived.
Oh, that was satisfying. Also, Claire calls him out on how he's taking advantage of the situation.
You son of a bitch.
Which is also satisfying.
This is happening. With or without you.
So, Owen takes charge because he pretty much has to.
We got one good target, gentlemen. Do not shoot my raptors. Please.
Afterwards, he's talking to Blue and the kids show up.
This one's called Blue. She's the beta.
Who's the alpha?
You're looking at him, kid.
Called it. Afterwards, Claire loads the kids into an armored vehicle. They have a moment in there, but honestly, I don't care that much. Zach is being a decent big brother and giving some encouraging words to Gray, like we didn't know that was going to happen at some point. Meanwhile, Owen is having the raptors smell the chunk of Indominus that it ripped out of itself, so they'll know what to go after. And here comes the infamous motorcycle scene with the raptors. By the way, this might have been inspired by a scene from the Last World novel that involved characters on motorcycles being chased by raptors. I don't care how silly this seemed in the trailer. In context, it's pretty badass.
Your boyfriend's a badass.
See? Hoskins is all about getting in Larry's personal space.
They got something.
So anyway, they follow the raptors until they stop. And then they wait. And there she is. And it turns out that she can communicate with the raptors.
I know why they wouldn't tell us what it's made of. That thing's part raptor.
Really? That's what was so classified? That a dinosaur genetically engineered to be the ultimate predator has the DNA of a predator? That's not much of a reveal, movie. Except that maybe the raptors have a new alpha now. Okay, that's kind of cool. Oh, and remember what Barry said earlier?
She look at what she wants. Usually what she wants to eat.
And now they're all looking at Owen. So they unload their weapons on Indominus and pretty much just succeed in scaring her off. Meanwhile, the raptors are picking off people left and right. Still think this was a good idea, Hoskins? Meanwhile, I think it's Charlie who sees Owen and hesitates before getting blown up right in front of him. Poor Owen looks so heartbroken. But then he lures Blue away from Barry just in time. Then Claire is having a moment with her nephews.
I want to go home. Oh, sweetheart, you will, okay? I promise. Tomorrow you will be home and your mother will never let me see you again.
But it gets interrupted by this poor guy. And now Echo and Delta are pursuing the vehicle. Nice one, Claire. And way to go, guys.
Did you see that?
I can't wait to tell Mom!
Oh, please, no. Do not tell your mother about that ever.
And here comes Owen to guide them to safety. Looks like Echo and Delta are okay for now. Here's an interesting twist.
Where have you been? Change plan.
Looks like Dr. Wu is working with Hoskins, and Hoskins wants him to evacuate all of the embryos.
Okay, our little side project's about to get a shot in the arm. I don't want a bunch of lawyers messing around with something they don't understand. You get it? I'm gonna take that as a yes.
Meanwhile, all of the tourists and workers are evacuating on a boat, but Larry stays behind. Meanwhile, Dr. Wu is being taken to a secret location via helicopter.
Our deal is still intact!
Don't worry, you'll be well taken care of. Let's go!
This is the last we see of him in this movie, but I'm sure this will come up again in a sequel. While that's happening, Claire and Owen lead the kids indoors to find that the lab has been evacuated.
Where's Henry?
Dr. Wu, he works for us.
God damn it, Hoskins. Isn't it about time for you to die? Of course he wants a version of Indominus as a military weapon.
A living weapon unlike anything we've ever seen.
Millions of years of evolution. What we learned, nature is the gift.
Thank you, Delta.
Easy, boy.
Not a good time to misgender the raptor.
I'm on your side.
Now that was satisfying. And here's a reminder from the first movie to make it even more so.
The point is, you are alive when they start to eat you.
Writhe in agony, you bastard. This is kind of cute. Delta is chasing them until this hologram of a Dilophosaurus appears, and she just gets totally confused. And now Echo and Blue are back, and they surround their prey. And yeah, this looks kind of familiar.
That's how it is, huh? Easy.
Owen seems to be rebonding with Blue as he takes the harness off of her head. Time to pick a side, girls. And they choose Owens. Though it may not be the best thing for them. Poor Blue. Delta and Echo are kicking ass and taking names, but they aren't winning per se. Meanwhile, Claire and the kids are watching all of this, and Gray gives her an idea.
We need more teeth.
So she grabs some supplies that we can't really see and takes off. Oh god, poor Echo. All the raptors are down, so Owen goes to look after the kids.
Larry, are you still there?
Turns out to be a good thing that Larry stayed behind, because Claire needs him to open a certain paddock.
Damn it, Larry, be a man and do something for once in your life.
Why do you have to make it personal?
And he does it, if under duress. Oh hey, that's a flare in her hand. Wait. Not gonna lie, I love this part. 25 years later and she's still a terrifying badass. Just ask Spinosaurus. Yeah, I see what you did there, movie, and I appreciate it. Oh crap, showdown. Old age doesn't slow down Rexy, that bitch can bring it. Ooh, except she's kinda losing now. Seriously, she's really taking a beating. Poor thing. However, it turns out that one raptor is still around. Blue to the rescue. And now Rexy and Blue have teamed up against the Indominus. What the fuck, why not? Go Rexy! Go Blue! Seriously, this is brutal. And now Indominus is very close to a railing. You ever heard the phrase, there's always a bigger fish? Well, in this case, that fish is Mosasaurus. If you pause right here, you can see all four dinos roaring at the same time. That's kinda cool. Poor Indominus gets dragged into the water, kicking and screaming all the way down. With the way they made it a point to show Mosasaurus a couple times earlier as a kind of lead up to this, I guess I should have seen this coming, but somehow it totally caught me off guard. Blue is just like, we're cool, right? But Rexy's getting too old for this shit, and she just wants to go home and retire. Go ahead, old girl, you earned it. Owen has a moment with Blue before she runs off to freedom. It's an early retirement for her. While Larry closes up shop for good. Lights out for Jurassic World. The next day, Zach and Gray are reunited with their parents. And poor Claire, you can tell she thinks this is it, her sister hates her, and will never let her see her nephews again. But she's wrong.
So what do we do now?
Probably stick together. For survival.
Oh, they're gonna make a cute couple. That's right, you still rule, Tyrant Lizard Queen. The end. So that was Jurassic World. Look, I'm not going to pretend that it's anywhere near as good as Jurassic Park, but I enjoyed it a lot, and I think it's at least better than the Jurassic Park sequels. The movie does have kind of a slow start for me. Mainly, I don't care too much about the kids, and the earlier scenes focus on them. I realize that you have to have kids in a Jurassic Park movie, especially in this case, since it's a good way to show off the working theme park and the dinosaurs. But I just feel like the subplot with their parents divorcing is kind of boring and predictable. Also, the way they constantly put themselves in danger kind of bugs me. I mean, Gray might be young enough to not know better, but Zach really should have. By the way, apparently at one time, Gray was on the autism spectrum, hence his obsession with dinosaurs and how he fusses over little details and trivia.
Dane County Airport is 36 minutes away, 60 with traffic. Brains get all mixed up and act as a natural preservative. DNA can survive for millennia that way. 1992 Jeep Wrangler Sahara, Sam Beige.
The mention of it was taken out, which is kind of too bad because it helped to explain the kids' actions better. Like, if dinosaurs are the one thing that Gray finds comfort in, it might make a little more sense for Zach, once he stopped being an asshole, to be so focused on helping Gray get as much out of the visit to Jurassic World as possible. In any case, the movie picks up for me when Owen and Claire show up. I like those two a lot. I think the actors do a great job. They have good chemistry, and I think their banter is really cute. But yeah, once they show up, things get better in my opinion, and I am definitely invested during the big dinosaur fight in the climax. And of course, B.D. Wong. One thing that's interesting about his character is that when I first saw this movie, I thought he was acting like a card-carrying villain. Like he just needed to be sitting with a cat in his lap while he said some of these lines. But he just kind of blanks once he gets that phone call from Hoskins. Like, maybe there's some doubt there. It could be that he's not evil so much as maybe just blindly passionate about his work. Maybe things just got out of hand for him. I could be reading too much into it, but B.D. Wong is slated to be in the sequel, so I hope his character gets a little more fleshed out. I'm curious where they're going to go with that. There's a fun little extra on the DVD called Chris and Colin Take on the World, where they interview each other. Turns out that Chris Pratt was a big fan of Jurassic Park, and hearing him quote some of the same lines I like to quote was amazing.
Hold on to your butts. Spared no expense.
And for Colin Trevorrow's part, he basically admits to having directed the movie from a kid's perspective, which kind of explains a lot. And I don't even mean that in a snarky way. I mean, if you go into this movie with the mindset of a cynical adult, you're not gonna enjoy it. But it just might satisfy the kid in you if you give it a chance. So I guess I better address an issue that some people had with this movie. Apparently some got the impression that the movie is implying that Claire should quit her job and start shooting out kids. Sorry, but I don't get that impression. In fact, it wasn't until my second viewing, when I was actively looking for it, that I could even figure out where people were getting that from. I can only assume that it's this conversation where Claire's sister doesn't even want to hear that Claire might not have kids. I mean, speaking as a woman who is child-free by choice, who has heard that sort of thing before, I thought that was a way of making her look like a nag. It doesn't come across to me like the movie is implying that she's right with that statement, just that she has a one-track mind on the subject. What I got is that Claire is so focused on her career that she's been absent from the rest of her family, and that's the lesson she's supposed to be learning. In my opinion, she reconnects with her nephews and realizes how much they mean to her. I don't see any indication of her having some kind of epiphany about starting her own family. The only thing the movie does kind of badly is that it's a bit ham-fisted about it. Like where Owen stops and goes, "Wait, you don't know how old your nephews are?" That line just felt really forced. Like, some kids might be in danger, but let's stop and chastise Claire for not knowing their exact ages off the top of her head. Especially when we see how important her job is. Like, she's responsible for the lives of hundreds of people. Cut her some slack. Honestly, once she hits her stride, Claire is a badass. It's pretty cool how she's willing to get out of her comfort zone when she needs to, and does a lot of insane things in the name of protecting other people. And no, I'm not mad about the high heels. I mean, okay, I guess they're a little silly, but the fact that she can do all this in them makes her even more of a badass, in my opinion. But yeah, for what it's worth, I don't notice any sexism or misogyny with how Claire was handled. One thing I didn't like about the movie when I first saw it was Zara's death. Seriously, she gets grabbed by pterosaurs, who play catch with her in midair, and then she falls into the water where they're still coming after her, and she gets dunked over and over until finally the Mosasaurus swallows her whole, likely while she's still alive. What the hell, movie? What did Zara ever do to you? I think it's because usually the Jurassic Park movies save that sort of death for a character who, well, is more like Hoskins. And I think that's why it bothered me. I think my assumption was that the movie was implying that she had it coming. I mean, yeah, she definitely did a bad job of watching Gray and Zach, but she's a personal assistant who suddenly is expected to babysit 2 kids in a busy theme park. Also, if you listen to her conversation, you can tell she's planning a wedding. Like, she was obviously overwhelmed and wasn't a good fit for this job. I guess that's a mark against Claire, unfortunately. That said, I don't really know if that's what they were going for. Maybe the idea was more along the lines of breaking expectations. It came across as needlessly mean-spirited to me, though. That said, it is pretty awesome that the actress did her own stunts, and the behind-the-scenes footage is really interesting.
And then finally eaten by a giant water dinosaur.
But who cares about that, right? We're here for the dinosaurs. Surprisingly, this is the first we've seen of Apatosaurus, and its scene is really heartbreaking and memorable. And of course there's Dimorphodon, who is so weird looking. It looks like someone took a pteranodon and replaced its head with that of a downsized T-Rex. I kind of already talked about Mosasaurus, but one thing that's interesting is that the director wanted to include an aquatic dinosaur as a nod to Blackfish, because this movie was meant to have a similar message. Other than that, though, there aren't very many dinos that we haven't seen before. It's kind of cool seeing Ankylosaurus get a little more screen time. I thought they looked surprisingly cute in this movie, and it made me a little sad to see one get its head bitten off by Indominus. I have to say I'm beginning to experience a bit of raptor fatigue. They were great in Jurassic Park because even though I knew about them and similar dinos like Deinonychus due to my dinosaur obsession, this was the first time they were ever shown in a movie, and having a movie focus on the smaller, faster, and more intelligent dinos was part of what made it unique. But ever since then, every sequel has focused on raptors in some way and exposed some new bit of info about them. In the first movie, we learned that they're intelligent. In the second, actually, I don't think we learned anything about them, there were just a lot more of them. In the third, we learned about how they communicate with each other. I will admit, though, that this movie showing how someone could theoretically train them, for lack of a better word, was interesting, and I do like how there were only 4 raptors who had names and personalities. As I said, though, I did kind of roll my eyes at the big reveal that Indominus was part raptor. Like, this is the 4th movie to feature raptors. I'm not really shocked by them anymore, is what I think I'm trying to say. Speaking of Indominus, her design is great, and the movie does a great job of depicting her as this terrifying, unstoppable force with an axe murderer mentality. Talk about creating a monster. But something about it just doesn't quite click. I get why this movie took that route. Hell, I kind of wonder if that conversation Claire was having with the sponsors was meant to be at least somewhat meta. They don't feel like we'll be interested in seeing a movie with plain old regular dinos. They had to come up with something bigger and better. But honestly, I get much more excited when I see Tyrannosaurus Rex. Could just be nostalgia, since T-Rex has been my favorite forever. But part of the reason I'm always coming back to dinosaurs is that, however much they may remind you of dragons and monsters, they really existed, and that's amazing. But the inclusion of Indominus just kind of turns it into a monster movie. She's a cool monster, but she's fictional. That said, I've heard people speculate that Indominus may have had some human DNA, mainly due to her intelligence. She lures her prey into traps by fooling them, like how she scratched the wall of her enclosure so they'd think she climbed out. But it turned out she was still there, not to mention removing the tracking device and leaving it nearby so she could sneak up on whoever was looking for it. Also, she doesn't only hunt for food but for sport, which is something that non-human animals generally don't do, at least not to the degree of mass murder. It wouldn't be too surprising if there was an early script where that was to be the big reveal. Like I talked about when I covered Jurassic Park, there was talk of a Jurassic Park 4 that was going to feature dinosaur-human hybrids. Could be that that carried over into an early version of Jurassic World, but they took it out for some reason. Honestly, though, I think Indominus having human DNA would have been a great twist, and it might have made the whole thing worth it. Speaking of which, they put a lot of work into making the CG dinos move realistically. Check out this shot where Indominus roars and you can see the inside of its mouth quiver. Or this shot where she blinks her third translucent eyelid. Yep, unlike Jurassic Park where a lot of the shots of raptors were guys in suits, this movie's dinosaurs are almost entirely CG. Though they do use motion capture. Some of the behind-the-scenes shots are pretty amusing.
There's one direction, just don't look silly.
As much as I like seeing practical effects, they did a fantastic job with the CG in this movie in my opinion, so I'm not gonna complain. Oh hey, remember when I talked about Jurassic Park and I went into how originally the dinosaurs were going to be done in stop motion by Phil Tippett, who made that bitter joke about becoming extinct when they went to CG, but because he became an expert on how dinosaurs moved, he still had a job as a consultant. Even after all these years, he's still the guy in charge of dinosaur behavior. That's pretty awesome. I'm glad he's still involved in this franchise. So I guess that's about all I have to say about Jurassic World. It's not a great movie. Hell, I'm not sure I'd even call it a good movie. Some of it is kind of cliche and lazy, but it does have some great moments as well. There's that theme of the hubris of man and how he thinks he can control nature, which the first movie basically already did. This movie just kind of continued it and expanded on that theme. I think the actors do a great job, the two kids included, and that may be a lot of what saves it for me. That and the dinos. And I appreciate a lot of the little nods to Jurassic Park, even though a couple of them were a little too on the nose. Of course, there is a sequel coming out called Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It appears to be about the dinosaurs needing to be evacuated from the island due to a volcano. Also, Dr. Malcolm. What the hell is he doing back? I predict this one will harken back to Lost World the same way this one did with Jurassic Park. Again, my expectations are fairly low. I just want to be entertained. Will I be covering that one in a few years? I can't really say before seeing it. It'll depend on whether or not I end up feeling like I have a lot to say about it. That's it for now. See you next time.